This video is dedicated to all citizens of the world who at this very moment are living far away from home in a foreign country, and what they have to go through every day as a result of something called xenophobia. That English word has its origins from Greek, where xeno means stranger and phobia means unrealistic fear. Fearing something that is not there. And that is exactly what xenophobia is all about. And today, we want to understand a little more deeply what is really happening in South Africa. The real origin of these xenophobic attacks. Kenyans have of course been affected, and many other African countries as well. I know our topic of today is going to be of great interest to Kenyans, because we are spread all over the world, in every corner of the world you can think of. And some Kenyans are making a real mark wherever they are. They're making major contributions to the country where they live. And they also have relatives back home, some of whom may be very anxious. Anyway, we're going to break down these South African manenos in great detail. But before we do that, I have to mention my last video. Sema channel kuwaka moto. Chris, you must have received an envelope from DP Ruto people, from the Tanga Tanga team. Some of you said. So and so's channel on YouTube is now ahead of yours. You've lost the plot, Chris. When you see somebody write several comments in one video, following each other in quick succession, then you need to be sure that they are very emotional, either for or against you. But I thank God that I have a thick skin and I understand a lot of things. And most of all, I have experience. Because experience teaches you what you can never really grasp from books. Especially this very important critical lesson in life, that when you get emotional, it hinders your thinking and your reasoning. All organs in the human body are very important, but the brain is especially important because it makes all the difference. And when you hinder this marvelous tool from working properly, basically you're in trouble. Let me just leave it at that. Now, the issue was that I mentioned a few things the DP Ruto camp had done. In fact, DP Ruto himself, that made him look good. And of course, we all know that there are very many people in Kenya who hate, with a capital H, the deputy president. Now, I'm a political analyst, and no political analyst worth their salt will analyze politics based on emotion. I have reason to believe that Team Tanga Tanga greatly influenced the outcome of the Embakasi South by-elections. Hate them or like them, their actions changed what was expected in Embakasi South. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that their influence in the Kibra by-election will definitely change what we would have expected, which would have been a walkover for ODM. So whoever wins, that is still true. Even if ANC wins, or even ODM, you can be sure that it will not be a walkover. And naturally, as an analyst, I needed to capture that. And of course, emotions hindered many people from catching my conclusion, which was, if elections were held today, McDonald Mariga would win. But then I quickly added, a week is a long time in politics, so let's wait and see what happens. I also said, to win, ODM or ANC, will need to pull a rabbit out of the hat. That is my analysis. And I don't fear being wrong. You can try your very best and still get it wrong. Yeah, I've gotten it wrong in the past. But I don't focus on that. I focus on ensuring that any regular on this channel will be way ahead of the news cycle. They will understand very deeply what is unfolding in Kenya. That is my mission. So if I'm wrong once in a while, that's okay. Yeah, at least I tried my best. I was not wrong deliberately or because of an envelope from Sugoi. Relax, guys. I've not changed. I'm still the same Kumekucha Chris. Very committed and very serious with what I'm doing on this channel. And something else to take careful note of. By-elections are not elections. Yeah, they're not general elections. There's a big difference. By-elections the world over, yeah, will usually have a very low turnout. Yeah, the whole matrix of the game changes very dramatically. It is very easy, yeah, to manipulate things, yeah, in your favor. Mostly because of the low turnout. Yeah, read between the lines. And let me just leave it at that. Yeah, and let's go straight to South Africa. Now, many people are not aware that South Africa has a very long history of xenophobic attacks. Very long. And more interesting and instructive is the fact that these attacks increased after the end of apartheid and the establishment of the first democratic government in South Africa. And of course, this is very surprising because one would have expected a nation that had battled the evil apartheid system for so many decades. When they finally got rid of apartheid, they would be more understanding, yeah, more tolerant of foreigners, yeah, especially when many of those foreigners come from nations that lend a hand to the ANC. Yeah, they help the ANC defeat apartheid. But alas, what one would have expected is not what happened. The direct opposite happened. Now, in May 2013, a Somali entrepreneur, Abdir Nasser Mohammed, was stoned to death in Johannesburg. He was only 25 years old. And somebody took a video of what happened. And this video went viral online. On 24th February 2017, there was an officially sanctioned anti-immigration protest in Pretoria. And included in the list of complaints was something very fascinating. Yeah? South Africans said that foreigners were very arrogant, unwilling to mingle with the local people and understand them. And especially foreigners from a country called, wait for this one, Nigeria. But the most revealing remark by South Africans on this topic came from none other than the South African Small Business Development Minister, Lindiwe Zulu, who said, and this is very shocking, it was shocking at least to me, who said that as long as foreigners operating businesses in South Africa were not willing to share their trade secrets with locals, they would always have a problem. There is this perception in South Africa that businesses owned by foreigners do much better than locally owned businesses. Now, for a long time in Kenya, businesses owned by Asians have always done better than those owned by locals. And I don't remember anybody demanding that the Asians reveal their trade secrets. Instead, Kenyans tried harder, went to school, got more exposure, and today, many younger listeners to this channel may be wondering what I'm talking about. Clearly, in the South African case, there's a lot of jealousy and resentment. And this jealousy and resentment can be found in many countries in the world. Not only in South Africa, not only in Africa. And usually, there's a striking similarity right across the board. This kind of resentment comes from people who don't want to compete. Usually people with very limited education and exposure. Now in the South African case, you really can't blame them. Because for decades under the apartheid system, it was very difficult for locals, black Africans, to get a good education. The education that blacks got, or shall I call them Blakes, as they call them in South Africa, the education Blakes got was of a much lower standard. And in any case, the culture of going to school, making the effort to go to school, has never been there. And of course, it is completely unrealistic to expect that you'll chase away a foreigner and take over their job as CEO of a company or even a manager, and yet you don't have the qualifications. Let alone that, you've hardly gone to school. That's impossible. Now, admittedly, it is also true that foreigners in South Africa sometimes end up doing very manual jobs that can be done by local South Africans. That is also true. Now, the latest in this very sad developments is that what has happened is that we have started seeing revenge attacks. For instance, the South African envoy to Nigeria was attacked by locals. In Abuja, I believe, his vehicle was cornered in a traffic snarl-up, pelted with stones, and the poor envoy had to flee to safety. In fact, the South African government has temporarily closed its embassy in Nigeria. This is a clear sign that things are getting out of hand. But the saddest thing here is that local South Africans seem completely unable to grasp the big picture. It is immigrants who make a country great. One of the greatest nations in the world, many believe the greatest nation in the world, the United States, is a nation of immigrants. In fact, statistics show that 2/3 of the growth in the United States since 2011 can be directly attributed to migration. Not only that, US immigrants are 2 to 3 times more likely to start a company. And of course, when you start a company, the people who will be employed in that company, the vast majority will be locals. In fact, in many companies, the entire staff are locals from the home country. Statistics further tell us that if migration had been frozen in the UK in 1990, the British economy would today be 9% smaller, which translates to billions of pounds. If the same had happened in Germany in 1990, that economy would be 6% smaller than what it is today. And these statistics should not surprise anybody. You see, migration self-selects risk takers, entrepreneurs. It is already a huge risk to leave your home country and go to a foreign country far away, to a culture you don't understand, you're not used to. And so that kind of mindset makes migrants, especially skilled migrants, very valuable people to any country that welcomes them. Indeed, even unskilled migrants. We don't need to look very far away from Kenya to see the immediate effects of having a liberal migration policy. Take Rwanda, for instance. Rwanda has welcomed, embraced, encouraged people to migrate to that country. And many of these people have started businesses which have created massive opportunities, employment opportunities for local Rwandese. Today, as the rest of East Africa is limping along, Rwanda is booming. Now, of great concern, especially to the very observant, is the fact that what is happening in South Africa is happening in many parts of the world. It has not reached the extremes we have seen in South Africa, but there seems to be a rise in xenophobia right across the globe, even in the Western world, in the United States especially, which is very strange, because as I said earlier, the US is a nation of migrants, and even right across Europe. And the saddest thing of all is that many politicians are taking advantage of this unreasonable fear in locals to win elections. That is, instead of looking for ways to curb and reduce and deal with the fires of xenophobia spreading right across the globe, they're in fact fanning those fires, causing them to burn more fiercely. In fact, let me give you an example closer to home. I was in Tanzania. I was living in Tanzania in the year 2005 when Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete swept into the presidency. Now, I happened to listen to some of his campaign meetings, and I understand Kiswahili. There was talk of getting rid of foreigners from a neighboring country who had taken away jobs from Tanzanians, so that those jobs would be freed for locals. And of course, this was accompanied by wild cheers from the voters. And I heard exactly the same kind of rhetoric from the campaigns of the current president, John Pombe Magufuli. Now, I don't know if you know this, but a large chunk of the Africans affected in the South African xenophobic attacks, of looting shops, burning them down, etc., etc., hail from the nation of Tanzania. My dear fellow Africans, what is happening down south must be, should be, a wake-up call to Africans to wake up and realize the direction some of us are taking is not the correct direction for economic growth and prosperity, and for a better Africa. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.